Well, good morning to and welcome to the Preacher's Porch to friends and subscribers and the internet and whoever clicks on these hashtags. There's tricks that we have to use, and so I do. My first few videos I didn't, but uh, what's the point of doing this if we're not, pursuing traffic? So, anyways, welcome to the porch. The birds are singing. It's a beautiful spring day here in Michigan. Wow, my picture looks better. I really hope so because the last couple of videos, this camera has done very wrong things. Now, just going to be brief today. I think anytime I say that, my friends laugh. When was the last time you were brief? uh, but it has happened, really. Um, my consideration today is from Psalm 2, and I think it's just very relevant to current events. And what we're seeing in our world. Now, when I say that, here goes brief right out the window. Let me touch you with some historical realities, um, and that is that uh, we see evil in our generation, and we think, well, wow, that's the most evil thing. We've sure got it different than our ancestors. What about the good old days? Let me speak to the Americans first. Um, a lot of concern now about fraud, government fraud, election fraud, people defrauding the taxpayers through government programs. Uh, there's a whole bunch of proof on the table now of just how wicked uh, probably 10 or 15 different states were in the 2020 election. Um, and totally, totally threw that vote. I've seen posts so bold as to suggest that they will attempt to arrest former President Obama, all of these things. And without laying an opinion on that anywhere, we look around, oh, it's terrible. Well, let me take you Americans back to the late 40s, um, maybe early 50s. There was an election civil war in a town in Tennessee, uh, in which the citizens won. um, and when I say won, they lost more people than the government did in the little exchange. But in the end, they succeeded in securing their elections against a wicked criminal sheriff and a couple of bureaucrats that were just doing really dark things. Um, and boy, we don't, we look at our time now. Oh, this is this. Well, men have always had a problem. Uh, men, people, I should say. I use men like the King James version of the Bible. It's just a general comment for mankind, but some people get real particular about it. I don't really care, but dark people dark-hearted people, um, they've always been that way. And uh, they've existed since uh, Cain killed his brother. Since Cain killed Abel, um, and as as soon as men learned the manipulative power of things like force and grief and uh, sorrow, and then later subjugation. Um, they have done these bad things, and it's not just us. We have. It's not just the battles we're fighting here. Um, you have uh, a situation in Canada right now where obviously the the prime minister, more or less an installation, not if there ever was an upside down and messed up election, it was his, and not in not a good Canadian at all, and good spirits in the spirit of the Canadian persona of people. Um, he and the guy before him have demonstrated that they were uh, global communists. They had no intention of freedom. Now you have this situation in the UK with Starmer and the complete debilitation of Great Britain. I it's hard being a student of World War II and the incredible um, heroism of and courage of the the British soldiers, the dynamic and effective statesmanship of Winston Churchill. Uh, to see it all just gone, you know, until just 5, 6 years ago, Great Britain was considered a superpower. And, you know, right now, a rubber raft full of blind dogs with roofing nails could take the place in about an hour. Um, that's sad. That's sad. Uh, and it's not the people. It's not the courage. I follow at least one former Royal Marine, and it's not the people. It's not the people. Here in this country now, there is a very concentrated effort to stop the current administration from finding and discovering fraud, from stopping fraud, from securing the elections, from getting rid of voting machines controlled on foreign shores. Who is that stupid? Who is that? You got to be fascinated by that. Who is stupid enough to use voting machines controlled on foreign shores? That's that's insane. Um, but all of the fraud, just upside down, wicked laws. Perverse laws. The mutilation of children in the name of transgender, and the uh, biological males and female athletics and so on. And he's being fought tooth and nail by these people for bringing any of it up and trying to change it. And uh, I'm certainly myself a product of Western culture, um, and in some form or another, a student of such things. And what's happening in Canada is brings a guy to despair. What's happening in the UK, um, it's crazy, just crazy. So I today just briefly, how long have I been going? I said briefly, and then I said briefly's gone out the window, which is not far off. Um, let's just look at something. Psalm 2, David, or some psalmist. David wrote some, Asaph wrote some. So we can attribute this to David, but even if it was written by someone later, it's dynamic, it's powerful, it's prophetic, um, and it's once again the word of God being way more accurate than any bad bureaucrat wants him to be. And I'm not even going to read the whole thing, just part of it. Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together. Now, somebody's going to tap this that isn't prolific in the Bible and thinks never bothered, thinks that it's irrelevant or always thought it was irrelevant or an ancient document that can't address modern times. You pay attention here. You can't get any clearer picture than that statement. Why do the nations rage? The people plot a vain thing. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together. Um, NATO, uh, the various organizations of dark, crooked world bankers, of which, by the way, both Carney and Starmer were uh, part of. They're actually agents of them. Carney is definitely an agent of that world to destroy Canada. They keep people keep arguing with him like, this is bad for Canada. You can't do bad. That's what he wants to hear. He's trying to make sure it is. He was sent there to do this, to debilitate Canada. Um, that's his whole purpose. Starmer, same thing, same thing. Well, I can't believe you did what was bad for the country. Um, you should believe it. You should believe it. He is the agent of very dark men who don't want a free United Kingdom. Uh, and you saying anything else is just being blind to the obvious. And so we have all of this stuff. And rulers getting together. Well, I'm allied with you. Well, I'm allied with him. Well, I was allied with you, but you made me mad, so I'm not allied with you. And now I'm going to be allied with this guy. And I'm going to make dark, quiet phone calls in the back, and nobody knows about, and so on. And here's the thing: some of that's legitimate. Sometimes you are in league, you're allied with bad people, and you shouldn't be. Um, and you need to change. And other times, um, throwing a very misinformed and not thought out temper tantrum. People break alliances with those who are really on their side and can help them, and then go form alliances with charlatans, fools, and crooks and sharks. It's the truth. Um, so, uh, why? What's this about? All of this stuff. Well, the end of verse 2 and then verse 3 tells us why. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, and I am telling you right now, this one gets me. Let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. That is an exact quote. Change a word or two, change a tense or two. That's a quote from everything that wicked men have done in this country since the 1960s, at least. When the dark operators decided to take over our courts and our education system, and used both the courts and the education system to destroy the nuclear family and degrade the population morally. And they did decide to do it. It was done on purpose. It was never done for the reasons given in press conferences. It was done for the reasons given in their dark speeches that they made to one another in crazy places. So, and they made those speeches. Some of them are documented very well. It's against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. If you go to the inauguration of Bill Clinton, yes, I'm naming a name, they literally spent 20 or 30 minutes of that inauguration celebrating that they had broken the bonds, the restrictions, the rules of conservatives, conservative living, of moralist living. No, I'm old enough. I remember. I remember Rush Limbaugh making such a big deal out of it, playing it back for us. Where's this going? Do you know where it's going to end? And everybody said, you are, you're just so bombastic. It's never going to be as bad as you say. Nobody has those intentions. And then I remember there came a day where he came on his program and said, I'm afraid to make jokes about these people because within 6 months, sometimes within 2 to 3 weeks, they live out the punchline. He said, I'm trying to illustrate absurdity by being absurd and think I have said something they would never go to, and then they're there and going past it in 6 months. Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? Let's go to Iran real quick. That's the hot topic. Let's go to Iran. Um, what's going on there? Well, that IRGC control thing, that's about um, and they rage. They rage. Murdered since the first of the year. They've murdered 50,000 of their or so of their own citizens. President Trump had to add brand new threats and pressure in the middle of a blockade to keep 8 young women from being executed just yesterday. Um, and they said they didn't, but who trusts what they say? They're seriously Psalm 144 people. I they lie more boldly, more openly, more uh, impudently than communists who bragged that they could. Um, what is their rage about? What, what? Well, they're raging against the Lord and His anointed. It's always the case with evil governments. It's always the case. Why? Well, let's go to the next level, and we're going to use Iran and then work backwards to all these other people. Um, if you know anything about the dark world that the Khomeinis brought on Persia and brought down onto the people after the uh, the revolution or whatever you want to call it that removed the Shah. Uh, their incredible subjugation, uh, violence against women and children is beyond the pale. Um, I should say beyond the appalling. Um, what are they raging against? Well, Ephesians chapter 5. Is it a street symbol if I go that one? Anyways, Ephesians chapter 5, Colossians chapter 3, uh, Peter's writings in his first epistle about how husbands and wives ought to conduct themselves. And the largest statement in there, those scriptures, is that husbands ought to love their wives as Christ loved the church and lay down their lives for them. And we have there a society that puts women and children in front of their military instead of putting their military in front of their women and children. I'm going to tell you something. There is no greater contrast between them and the rest of the most of the rest of the world. You could go back to the communists in Vietnam, and they did the same thing. often. But we don't understand that here. One of the reasons we don't is because of the scriptural basis of at the core of our society. People that aren't Christians still believe, and it's because this is our culture. Our culture is based on these ideas that you defend women and children. If you have an army, the army goes first. Um, you don't strap bombs to children. Um, you don't put women and children in front of an army group for the sole purpose of the press picture when they get mutilated. Well, they want their women wearing hijabs. If their woman, if their wife cooks wrong, uh, they want to be able to beat her, scar her, maim her. All these reports are out. I'm not saying anything new. I'm not making an accusation. I'm telling you what the eyewitnesses have said coming out of there. Uh, Eyewitnesses that have the scars, some of them. They want to be foul. They want to be cruel. They want to be dark. And they want nothing standing in the way of their capacity to be evil. Um, it's a lust for power and control that's crazy. Uh, and now let's come back here. We'll come back to the UK uh, and Canada. Starmer and Carney. Well, what's going on here? Well, uh, the the dark plans of the globalist superbankers installed these men, and they want them to destroy a free society. They can't have a free society and do what they want to do. Control the world. You have to have subjugated people. Uh, and people whose only thought is the next little uh, tidbit that they can be given. Um, they certainly don't want brave and courageous people. They want broken people. They want people who've given up on the system. So one of the reasons that they do what they do in the courts is to get people to despair of the opportunity, of the even the potential for um, legal recourse. They don't want them to believe in those institutions anymore. Um, they've destroyed their military on purpose. They've flooded them with these strange militant immigrants on purpose. They've with anti-culture people. Um, you know, um, certainly the UK is. What's going on? I got dumb stuff on my screen here. Oh, it's telling me my battery's low. So they uh, in the name of securing them a position of power that doesn't answer to decency or common law, or certainly not freedom. They don't want freedom. They have no interest in freedom. And a free people. That's out. They all of these things target to tear it all down. I listen. I follow. I'm a subscriber to a great blog over there called Tripe and Whatnot. And I like that guy. I don't agree with everything he says because he says British things, and I'm not there. And but he just has some great perspective on things. But one of the things is that he's questioning is why would they be so stupid? Well, it's targeted. They're doing this on purpose. They're not just stupid. They're doing it on purpose. And the country's been flooded with this nonsense. All of this stuff has been done to break the any trend toward freedom, because free people who love their freedom are very courageous. World War II proved that. Freedom was considered a decadence, and turned out to produce some of the most valorous people. So here we go. They're doing things on purpose. Let's come back to this country. President Trump, whether you like his demeanor or not, and this isn't a pro-Trump blog, this is just to show you some things from the scripture and what they say. The nations are raging against, these nations rage against God, the things that his word recommends, the things that his word speaks out, the things that the gospel of Jesus Christ set right in the world. And they rage against it. So we come back here, and the president, he stepped on some quote unquote moral issues. Biological males competing in women's sports. Biological males standing in a woman's locker room saying, "Oh, I think I'm a woman." He said enough of that. The mutilation of children by the education-based propagandists pushing all of this. Well, he began fighting that. Turns out he also began fighting fraud. He also began standing up to certain things. And he's fought every which way. So working back from Iran and their incredible oppressive darkness to the slick and slimy work of Starmer and Carney to destroy their countries on purpose. In Starmer's case, to destroy it for wherever it's going to wind up, get it destroyed. In Carney's case, to destroy Canada, to give it to the Chinese. to here and all the battles we're fighting here. These nations, these bad bureaucrats, they're raging against God. They're raging against the wisdom of God. Uh, they're they're raging to destroy the fabric of society. So, been a lot of talk about. Well, I'm going to get real simple, almost silly, but there's been a lot of talk about Goodell and the as the uh, fellow in charge of the NFL, the National Football League here in the United States. And all of his just dumb, 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 over and over and over and over, dumb decisions, uh, over which now since 2015 and the whole kneeling gambit, over which the owners have had to fight back and fight back and fight back and say, you're costing us our fan base, you're costing us money. We don't want to play these games. And so you come all the way through to this year's Super Bowl. And it was as asinine a thing as you're ever going to see. Bizarre. Um, and everybody's like, well, it's because he don't know what he's doing. I posit to you that he does. That it was done on purpose. Um, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the even with the competition between teams, the national uh, unity around a sport um, and the sports world, the belief in competition, that it ought to be fair, the belief in accomplishment, all those things. Just put it in your mind. What if the people raging against God and good, what if they put him, look, you could take the commissioner, he's commissioner of the NFL, you could go over to that guy that's the commissioner of the NBA. Same thing. What if they were installed to make those sports reprehensible to the people? What if they were, just work with me, what if they were installed there for the express purpose of breaking the fan base, to get rid of a thing that 80,000 people will gather together in unity and participate in on a weekend day? What if that was the purpose? You see, they rage. You people that believe they care. Anybody that believes Roger Goodell cares about the NFL, you've lost your mind. I'm just going to tell you, you're not paying attention. They're raging. They're raging against anybody who wants to do right. And they would rather see it. This is rage, okay? They would rather see everything in front of them destroyed. Really. Than give up their wickedness. Um, the Iranians, I shouldn't say that. They're good people there. 50,000 of them died in the streets protesting for a better life. Um, no, the IRGC and that dark um, Khomeini mess. What did they? Uh, What possibly could they have been thinking to believe they could stand up to the United States military? No country with real intelligence gathering and real calculation would have even attempted that, and certainly not under President Trump, this administration. And what were they thinking? Even to the point of all the defiance um, at the destruction of their infrastructure. So I'm going to take you back to World War II on it. That ideological cabal at the top of Nazi Germany. Um, some of the old Prussian generals realized what was happening. They did the math and said, we have to move our materials a couple of 100 miles, and we're losing to an industrial might so powerful that they can move their stuff 5,000 miles and across an ocean, and they're winning. And so they wanted it to change, and they spoke for the change. And when the war came to their border, and all of a sudden the railroads were blown up, the bridges were blown up, some of them ancient, beautiful bridges, not just not just you know causeways of commerce. They were architectural genius, etc. Um, and they begin to watch the systematic destruction, and they're like, we need to figure out some other way to stop this. But the men at the top were willing to completely destroy the country rather than than release their grip on wickedness. Um, Moral virtue for true morals is laudable, but evil courage is stupidity. And the nations rage against the wisdom of God. And it's sad. And it is destructive. Um, you can't wander outside of the parameters and win. God didn't say things to be mean, to cramp everybody in. God said things that there's a certain way the world works. And if you work it that way, you can have a wonderful, peaceable life. And if you don't work it that way, the consequences are going to begin to mount because you're going to smash on irrefutable laws. No, these nations are raging against the wisdom of God. They are. They're raging against the wisdom of God. It's here in our country, United States. Um, it it has Canada in a frightening place. The only non-frightening thing about Canada is that the United States is right here and at some point has to consider its own security being relevant to Canada's security. Um, so the Canadian citizen has some hope that some uh, that whether or not their prime minister cares at all, that President Trump would look on at invaders from other realms, such as communist China, and say, "I can't allow that. I'll help deal with it," in spite of whatever Ottawa's doing. And all of this is this thing right here. Now, here's what's interesting. That's a psalm from 3,000 years ago, and we're living it today. That is a psalm. We think it's so dark, it's so bad. No, dark hearts have always been the same. And whether or not you hear this, you watch this, and you want to run out and become a born again Christian, as all of us evangelicals talk about, and I'm one. I would hope that you would. But even if that's not the case, you, I hope you can see that you don't want a world that that, that doesn't understand the writings of Solomon and the writings of the Apostle Paul. Um, I'm I'm fascinated by the people that I meet who understand the basic goodness. And they understand it practically, not even philosophically, just in practicality. And they don't really claim to be of any particular persuasion, but they want a world that doesn't violate itself and how it's designed. Um, they want that. They want that world. So here, I said it was brief. It's not brief at all, but that's me. Psalm 2. Read the rest of it. It says some pretty heavy things. Read the rest of it. Uh, you read the book of Proverbs. Uh, you read the Apostle Paul on family relations. It's interesting because 50, 60 years ago, the feminists lost their mind over the Paul's statements that wives ought to be respect their husbands and submit to their husbands. But no, but they none of them accounted for Paul saying to the husbands, "Love your wife as Christ loved the church and be willing to lay down your life for it." Paul understood the balance. They took him way out of context to not show the balance. there's a world that we can live in that's a good world. We got to quit raging against the wisdom of God. And we got to stop calling good evil and evil good. And that's a picture of our world. So 3 verses in Psalm 2. I didn't read the 4th verse, but if I were to read the 4th verse, it says, the Lord will hold them in derision, not because he doesn't care, but because it's an impossibility to have a functioning society, have a functioning home, any of this without his wisdom. It's an absolute impossibility. And so there you have it from the preacher's porch. If you don't like it and you put down bad comments, I can delete it. Yeah. And my prayer is for the people of Great Britain. I got a lot of Irish in me. My prayer is for them to fix their country, be able somehow. I don't even know how now. It's so far gone. It's so far gone. Somehow to get their country back. Somehow to get some English fidelity out of the king and the prince. And I pray for you. The horrible things that are now happening in your streets at the hands of foreign nationals and illegal immigrants, so on, is really, 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 really frightening. And it's not just frightening because it happens, it's frightening because you no longer have legal recourse. Your courts have been twisted and populated with men and women who call evil good and good evil. And I pray for you. I pray for Canada. I've been to Canada a few times. Canada's got some beautiful things. And right now it's run by people who just absolutely have its destruction in mind. And I pray for you. And I pray for my country. I've been wanting now for several years to go and tour England and Ireland, Scotland, make some guitar videos up there and see the castles and so on. Tour some places that are so beautiful. But I would no more go to England right now than anything. It's just, it's upside down disaster. Canada, quit going to Canada. Quit. Dreadful. Dreadful that a place can be that beautiful, have that much potential, be run that ridiculously. And I pray for you. I pray for Alberta, their push for independence. That Manitoba, Saskatchewan would join them. Is that just an American coveting new soil? No, I see a people hungry for freedom, and hungry to be able to live good lives in a way that good is not called evil and evil is not called good. And I pray for you to succeed. And I guess I kind of got quiet and sober on this one, but there it is, Psalm 2. nation's rage. I love you. God bless you. Thanks for joining me on the porch.